We're just sorting out some technical difficulties as we are going to be also broadcasting this broadcasting this launch night to twitch.tv as well. We're going to, if you want to have a look at it or go over it later, our Twitch channel is twitch.tv/Game Developer Guild. So anyway, let me just say hello. My name is Harry. I'm an exec on the Game Developer Guild. My responsibility is the Loot Master, also known as the Treasurer for the Guild. But I will be presenting everything, well, at least everything in this introduction this evening. So just so we know what's on the agenda today, we've got the intro, which I'm going to be doing for the club, which will introduce you to everything our club's planning on doing this semester, as well as just what our club is wanting to achieve in general. Then we'll be having a little mini tutorial for the new developers who don't know how to install or get Unity, because we'll be using this for our tutorials. And then we'll be having our guest speaker here, David, presenting a little tidbit. So, why go into game development? All of us are passionate about games, and all of us also want to see them get better as well. So to create a new standard, we have to be up for that challenge and really enjoy it. The most important part is enjoying the work that you do when it comes to game development. And this, hello, welcome. It's all right, please come and take a seat. And to be able, sorry, lost my train of thought there. If we're enjoying our work, let me just restart that a little bit. To create a new standard, we have to be up to that challenge and really enjoy it. All of us are very passionate for games, and we all want to see them get better because we want to be able to enjoy them more and have a lot of other people enjoy them as well. A lot of the joy isn't in just playing the games, it's also in developing them. So to help, just in case you didn't notice there, this little quote is by Shigeru Miyamoto, also known as the creator of Mario and Legend of Zelda, who are constantly just innovating their games. When fans only want slight little improvements, they go ahead and make those slight little improvements they wanted, only a minor little feature of their games, and just go ahead and introduce entirely new mechanics nobody had thought of. So, how does our club achieve this? We've got 5 little aspects that we use to help people facilitate their love for game development and games. We teach people how to develop games through Unity and other software to help improve them with their game development knowledge and skills in these programs. Secondly, we also get people involved with game development through events where you can meet up with other developers and a push to use everything you know about game development to improve yourself. One of these events shown right here is Kiwi Jam. It's one of our biggest events that we have adopted from Ben Kenobi. We also promote creativity by pushing out unique themes and concepts at these events, as well as just asking everyone to, not asking everyone, just telling, oh gosh, lost my, we also inspire innovation we also inspire everyone for, okay, I had the script sorted out in my head and I lost my train of thought. Great. We inspire innovation for doing this as potentially a career or hobby. We've got some very experienced developers amongst all of us. We've also there's all sorts of people who have taken it to all sorts of different degrees. One of our newest execs is a very experienced developer, releasing multiple titles, especially in the virtual reality tech. And we also just love pushing development to all of its different aspects as well in this. But I feel like the most important part of this is doing it all together. Game development together is what bringing everyone together as a team in order to be able to meet new people, think of new ideas and new perspectives they wouldn't have otherwise thought of themselves. You can do game development by yourself from anywhere, but everyone coming together and doing a project is something that's only achievable if you know who to ask or who to go to for that. So we try to unite everyone here at this club as well. So just a few little bits of information there on that note about bringing everyone together. We've got several social media platforms as well as a Discord server and our Twitch channel, which I've mentioned already. And for your information here, on these, this is a little digital presentation of our poster that we've got for the semester. From our workshops will be 8 p.m., well 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. on Wednesdays. If it's under lockdown, we'll be trying to do that broadcasted at that time on Twitch. Otherwise, we'll be physically in this room here if we're able to host physical events. All right, so what do we? So what do we do? The first 3 weeks will be tutorials. Our first 3 weeks will be a tutorial where we teach people how to use Unity for those who do not understand it, and we'll keep it right down to the basics, such as being able how to create and import assets, how to string together some code. We'll be having a lot there, but there will be some factors you will have to. There will be some factors you will have to learn yourself, because we want to be able to not only teach you how to use, but we want to be able to teach you how to code a little bit as well. Right, there's a new little project that we've been working on behind the scenes, and we've been wanting to create a little team initiative for the remaining weeks of the semester. Don't worry if you're inexperienced or unable to find a team. We'll be continuing to help you improve your game development skills as long as you. Hey yo, it's all right. We'll be helping you to continue to improve your game development skills as well as doing. So basically, these team projects are going to be just a month-long jams almost. A lot of our jams previously have just been 48-hour events where we try to push everyone for time in those sort of areas. But this one, you can take at your own pace by doing these month-long jams in a bigger group and get your ideas really refined. And as it says there, the details specifically relate to if we're locked down or not for this time period. We will also be having game nights in the interim as well, where how can you get ideas for games without knowing what's out there on the market? Because it can be easy to do that, but it's also a good idea to see what mechanics you like from existing properties already and develop and potentially fleshing them out into your own game in your own way. Do you like the grapple hook from Legend of Zelda? You can have that as a mechanic in your game, or base an entire game around that. Do you like the jump mechanics that Mario 64 has? You can try use that and make the whole game around the technical aspects of that, and much, much more. We will also at these events be encouraging the physical game usage as well, such as board games, card games, etc., because game ideas are not only restricted to digital means. They've been existing in physical forms for a very long time, so there's a lot available in that area. And we will also be aiming to play a lot of these games together at these nights. Why play these games solo when we could be playing them all together as a group? So here's a little rundown of what we're thinking the schedule will look like this semester, hopefully, assuming UOA doesn't go into a lockdown again. Our tutorials, here's today, the launch night here. Our first tutorial will typically be tonight, showing you how to install the correct Unity version we'll be using for our tutorials, as well as how to install Unity in general if you do not have access to it already. The second tutorial will be covering asset importing as well as creating art inside for Unity. And then our third tutorial will be covering a lot more focused on the coding aspect of Unity. Then we'll be starting our team projects, where hopefully everyone will be able to get into small teams. If not, we'll be asking. If not, we'll be teaching you still how to work on work on your own projects. And if not, you can go solo. We'll be willing to help you out as much as we can. And the tutorial periods in this time can serve as guaranteed periods where you can meet up with your team if you guys don't have another time available in the week. Right. So, Kiwi Jam. This is New Zealand's largest game jam that we are fortunate enough to become involved with a few years ago thanks to Ben Kenobi. And this event is well known around New Zealand with its game developers. The event has the last event that we held in was it June or July last year? July last year? Yeah. July last year attracted over 100 individuals total with several small teams. Just
2019.
Well, 2019 we achieved around 150. Was it?
120ish.
120ish. Yeah. Just insane numbers with all sorts of wacky and crazy games that we had never really thought of that were very awesome as well. Some of them created physical dance pads or rhythm pads. Some of them achieved to make stop motion games by taking little pictures and frames and importing them into Unity as their own assets. Some of them have gone ahead and been homages to other well-known games like Don't Starve Together, as well as other multiplayer fighting games. Their sites. It's New Zealand's largest game jam, but our site alone in Auckland has been able to achieve those numbers. There's several other sites that are hosted around New Zealand, such as Wellington, Dunedin, Christchurch, Whangarei as well. Yeah. So, there's also, as another event we are heavily involved with, is the Auckland Game Dev Meetups. It's a monthly meetup of the local Auckland Game Dev scene. There's a lot of amazing individuals and developers you'll be able to meet there. Yeah, there's a lot of them are hobbyists, a lot of them are also professionals. That I've seen some of them go on to work at Mojang as well, if you've heard of the company that's made Minecraft and many other impressive titles. And at these events we also aim to have free catering for everyone who attends if the lockdown doesn't restrict us in that regard. So, the executive team. Unfortunately, a few of these members aren't here right now, but they will be showing up later in the evening. Josh, who is our president of the club, he's in charge of our social media as well. He's a very passionate guy for the game development scene. He's a big fan of a lot of popular franchises as well, in particular. No, okay. Thought it was going to be a speaking of the devil moment there.
She'll be here shortly.
Sioen, who is our vice president and former president, is currently MIA from this event.
She's doing masters.
Yeah, she's busy working on her masters at the moment. Then there's myself, Harry. Harry Polobinskas, if anyone knows how to say that name. It can be a little bit of a tricky one and trips a lot of people up. I am the head treasurer of the club and in charge of, also known as the loot master, as I mentioned earlier. As for me, my favorite games would probably have to be the trading card game Yu-Gi-Oh! In all of its aspects and forms, as well as I'm a big fan of the Dark Souls series as well. It's a very frustrating yet well-constructed game as well. There is Zach, who is our marketing and events manager for external events, who is involved with a lot of hackathons and game jams. He's the main one who and 8 Kiwi Jam in our club. Then here we have, sitting down here, Clinton. Would you like to say anything or introduce yourself?
Sure, yes. Hello. I'm Clinton. I'm part of the exec team and I'm the tutorials officer. That basically means I'm the one who's most passionate about teaching you all how to get good at Unity. I was also the one who did the Club Expo stream, so doing the 1 hour retro remake challenges. Yeah, continue.
Right. Right. Then we have Ruben, who is our projects officer. He's been working on a lot of amazing projects behind the scenes, such as character creation, recreating beloved PlayStation titles as well, such as Ico. And he's been working on all sorts of game ripping as well. Well, when it comes to taking their files and being able to make them publicly available for everyone. Unfortunately, he was unable to make it today. Then, here we have...
I'm Yue.
Yep, would you like to speak to the mic?
What can I say? So,
Just introduce yourself.
so I'm part of the exec team. I'm really into game development, especially on the VR side. So I've been working on games since high school, and I just joined this club because I want to meet more people and help out with, hopefully be able to help people out with my experience in Unity.
Sweet. Then we also have present today.
Hi.
Okay. Oh, you don't want to say anything, Jonathan?
I'm Jonathan, and I've got a little bit more experience in Unreal than Unity. So,
And if you want to help with going into other platforms outside of Unity, Jonathan's man for that. He's got a lot of experience with Unreal as well as a few other engines, right?
a little bit in the others.
Yeah. Then finally we have Vincent, who is not here today as well. I thought he was going to be coming today for some reason.
No, he's
Anyway.
Okay.
I'm sure that everyone who is who is on their way, such as Zach and Josh, will introduce themselves formally when the time comes as well, when they arrive. So now I'm going to be passing on to Clinton here, who is going to teach everyone here how to be able to use Unity, or at least install it for now. Just a few little basics on how to get it installed. And then we'll be moving on to David here with his little presentation on what it means to be a game developer.
Alright, thanks for that talk, Harry. Alright, so I'll be teaching. I already taught how to download Unity in the Club Expo. If you've been following that, you already know how to download the right Unity version. Some of you may have logged into your computers, but these university computers in this room only has 2018.1.2, which is the version that I'm using for this tutorial. So I'm going to get on the laptop right now, and I'm going to teach you guys how to use Unity's workflow to put together the game that I made. Alright, so just give me a few seconds to sit up here.
Is it this?
canvas where we can create anything. Now, right away, we see the default Unity layout. You can see that there's lots of tabs everywhere. So, for example, here is the scene view, then over here is the inspector, and so on. By clicking and dragging, you can move them around, so you can place them anywhere. So you can customize the editor to look exactly the way you want it. Now I'll cover what each of these windows does in a bit, but first let's set up our layout. Now for me, I've been using Unity for a long time, and this is the layout that I found best. So the inspector is nice on the right side, always visible. Then I place the hierarchy down here. Then the project files here next to it with the console. Then on the project files, I also like to see them on a standard Explorer view. So just going here, instead of the 2-column layout, I prefer the 1-column. And just like that, you can see everything. Alright, so that's the project files, and next to it, again, the normal console. And now up here, a nice big view of our scene view, and next to it, we have our game view. Alright, so this is the layout that I normally use. But again, all of the windows are customizable, so if you prefer something different, by all means use that. You can drag and place any window and place them anywhere. Okay, so now let's cover what each of these windows actually represents. Now, right down the middle, we have our scene view. So this showcases everything that you have placed in this scene world. For example, I can place an object. So I go down here to this plus, create a new 3D object. Let's make it a cube. And there you go. Just like this, I have a basic cube right in the middle of my scene. You can also see these handles. So these allow us to move the object. So for example, with this one, I can move it just on the x-axis, moving it on the z-axis and on the y-axis, or just any of these and move them around. Now this is only the editor scene view. It is not the game view. If we click on the game view, then now we are actually seeing what the camera sees. Whereas in the scene view, we are free to roam around and look around from any perspective. Now for the other windows, down here we have the hierarchy. So this shows all of the objects that currently exist in this scene world. Up here we have the name of our scene, our sample scene, and here are all the objects inside of this scene. Then here on the right we have our inspector. This shows detailed information of whatever object we select. So on the hierarchy we simply click to select an object, and yep, it shows the object over here in the inspector. It shows the object name up here, and all of the components attached to that object along with all of their fields. Now I'll cover components in a bit. Then down here we have our project files. So this is just the folder structure for your entire project. So if you right click and click on Show in Explorer, it opens up the basic Explorer, and you can see that all of the assets in here in the project files are the ones inside the assets folder. So as you can see, we have a scenes folder, and inside we have our sample scene. Alright, so those are the basic windows. Now let's go back here into our scene view window. And again, here we can see the entire world view of this scene. So in terms of controls, everything is pretty basic. So we can select objects by left clicking on them. Then we can look around with right click. If you press Alt and left click and drag, you can orbit around a certain position. You can zoom in and out with the mouse wheel. To pan around, you can use the middle mouse click. Or alternatively, up here, use the hand tool. Just hand and just left click. You can also do freeform movement. So with the right mouse button down, looking around, and we can move using WAS and D. So just basic as if it was a normal game. We can increase and decrease the speed with the mouse wheel. So press mouse button down, mouse wheel up, and there you go. Now we're moving at 2x speed. Move it down, and now we're moving very slow. And if you get way too far away from a certain object, you can, for example, select it over here on the hierarchy and press the F key, and there you go, it zooms in straight on the object. So the object zoomed in, and for example, if I orbit around, now it orbits around the object. Then up here we have our toolbar. Now we already saw the hand tool, which is used for panning around. Then we have the move tool, which shows all of our movement axes. So moving the X, the Z, the Y, or any of them. Then we have the rotation tool, which again we can rotate individually on each or rotate on all of them at once. Then we have the scale tool, so we can scale on the Y, scale on the X, or scale on all of them uniformly. Then next to it is the rect tool. So this one also modifies the scale, but it does so on a different way. Now this tool is mainly used when working in the UI. And finally we have the combine tool, which combines all of them. So over here we can move, we can scale, and we can rotate all of them. Alright, so that's the controls and all of our basic tools. And all of these tools can be accessed with the keyboard, so press the Q, and now we have the hand tool, press the W, we can move, press E, and we have the rotation. The R, we have our scale, and T, we have the rect tool, and with the Y, we have the combine. Alright, so that's the controls and the basic tools. Okay, so now that we covered the interface
Okay, so for those in the stream, I'm going to open Unity with the files that's in the Google Drive stream. If I'm correct.
Follow himself on the stream.
Oh, no, it's definitely on. Okay. So I will be sitting in front of the laptop here, working on Unity. Yeah. In the meantime, you could log into your computers and get started.
Oh no!
Okay,
What
so yeah, we're going to go straight to the speaker. He's David Delgato.
Hey guys, how's it going?
From
let's get this.
Mytona. And Mytona is one of the biggest, biggest mobile game companies in the EMA region.
I forget the
Europe,
short to
Middle.
Is it?
What does the EMA stand for again?
Europe, something.
It's just freaking huge company, okay?
It's a huge company, but I'll introduce you guys to all of that in a second. I'll just set up real quick and then we'll get on with it.
All right. So, David, we want to hold on to the microphone?
Yeah, I can chuck it on my shirt or something so I can.
Yep, so this is this thing here.
Oh, nice.
And if you want to mute it, it's on top.
God, nice.
Yep. Okay, so the camera's here.
Maybe it's just going to just hide that.
Must be my phone.
This is my first year, so
I like it.
That's kind of people who social jazz.
do you go to uni? Do you stay? Do you go to uni?
Why are you not working?
Last year, I was very interested.
My name is David Delgado, and I am a game developer, player, and game lover. So when I was thinking about coming here today, and I thought, well, what would be a cool way to introduce myself? And I thought, well, what better way than to actually give you a little bit of a run through my own gameplay. Oh, we're going to do it like this. Once it loads. Technology, 2021. Surely. Or maybe not.
Our journey began in the South American lands of Venezuela. Our journey began in the South American lands of Venezuela. In the year 19XX, a boy, no, a hero, was born. He grew up playing games like Crash Bandicoot, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, Spyro the Dragon, and Disney's Hercules. Our hero was tasked with a heavy burden when he's surviving the treacherous playground despite the embarrassing moment when he... Oh, you're gonna skip my dialogue? Fine, be that way. How about when you were 8? Is that better? Fine.
Cool, so at this point, I've gained a little bit more intimate intelligence. I can cast some level 1 charm spells, but I still have a -2 to knowing what the hell a bandicoot actually is. But no matter, at level 8, I can actually start using a DLC that my parents may or may not have purchased for me. So let's dive into that.
Lost in the land of the long white cloud, where kiwis run free and suckle their toes, our hero found that despite his speech he could not understand the local dialogue. And he knew to survive, he would need to make allies, learn the common tongue, and master the elusive skill of self-confidence. There was only one place our hero could accomplish this feat. One place that would aid him in his journey. RuneScape.
Oh yeah.
Oh yes. Days turned into weeks. Weeks into months. Creatures were slain. Spells were cast. And trees, they were cut. And before he knew it, David was ready to encounter the outer world. Things were starting to look up for our hero. Gaining experience and gaining limbs was becoming an easier feat each day, both in RuneScape and IRL. That was until one day he faced his first ever boss. This was no ordinary boss, however. A boss known for creating more terror than the red Xbox Ring of Death. A challenge so great, it would put the last boss of Dark Souls to shame.
I know, terrifying. Well, don't worry guys, when you get to this point, at first it looks like you only have 3 options. But if you type in the Konami code, I guarantee you something special happens. So let's give that a go now.
Ah, yes. Game developer. The road ahead will be treacherous. There will be many challenges.
True.
Might not be any girls. But it is 2018. We are working on it. Are you sure you wish to continue?
What the heck? Let's go for it, eh?
Ha! I wish you luck, that feature.
And there you go. That is my game. You can download that on Steam at any time you want. So a little bit of what you just heard there. So I was born in Venezuela and I moved to Auckland, New Zealand at the age of 8. I actually graduated from right here where you guys all are, in University of Auckland in 2016 with a Bachelor of Science, majoring in Computer Science. And currently I'm a senior software engineer or software game developer at Maitona. And as you know, I've always loved gaming, all sorts of games. Some of my most favorite games throughout my years have been Overwatch. Any Overwatch players here? Yeah, nice. Okay, a few. League of Legends. Anyone played League of Legends before? Okay, we got a handful. Okay. Monster Hunter. No Monster. Okay, cool. World of Warcraft. One person. That's who you want to meet after this talk. All right, everyone go see that legend over there. And over my 5 to 6 years since graduating, I worked on a handful of games, which I thought I'll give you a little bit of a run through now. So my very first project after leaving university was Audio Game Hub with Sonar Interactive. And this was my very first project straight out of uni with a whole bunch of freshly graduates. And we came together to make a bit of a different genre of game, I guess. Simple arcade games that catered to the visually impaired or blind users. So we use sound as our main interface, right? So we pan the sound left to right to show horizontal direction, and we move the pitch up and down to show vertical direction. What you see here on the screen, they're mostly for us for testing and things like that, and our users actually didn't use any of these visuals, and we're actually really good at all these games. Then after that, not too long after, I got a job offer to work down for Wellington-based studio Pickpock, where my very first project to work on was Rival Stars College Football. So Rival Stars College Football is a fantasy football simulator where you as the coach manage your team and train them, bring the stats to the best you can, and then form a cohesive team that can counter your opponents. And then when you can face off against other people and form clans and guilds and so on and battle it out. And then I worked on that for about 6 months, and at about that time there was an opportunity in the studio to work on a console game, so a PlayStation 4 and Xbox One game. And I was super eager to jump on board, and with that I joined the Farlab horse racing game team. And as the name suggests, this revolved around racing and training your horses in order to excel on race day and win rewards. Then you use those rewards to train your horses, to build up your stables, to manage your farm, and so on, and that loop repeats itself. And since it was a console game, it brought with it some larger scale features and challenges with it. We implemented full live multiplayer so that you can play with your friends, voice comms so you can talk trash to each other while you're racing. And I was on this project from start to finish, right? So I basically worked on this for 2.5, almost 3 years, and worked on everything from AI, multiplayer, UI, everything that you can see. I had a chance to get in on that, and it was as you can imagine, it was a great experience because it really allowed me to dive into the deep end, and that's where you grow the most. Once we finished, because again, as I said, this was an Xbox One, PS4 title, we thought, okay, well, what do we do next? And we actually thought that we had the same opportunity, but on mobile. So we thought, okay, maybe we can port it over and target a different audience. And we did just that. With that was the birth of Rival Stars Horse Racing. Pretty much the same game, not gonna lie, except with a completely different emphasis on who our target audience was. So we basically not reskin the game, but we changed the themes to be more focused on the connection between the player and the horses themselves. While Far Lab was all about gambling and the action and the thrill of the race, Rival Stars horse racing is more about taking care of your horses and interacting with them. And so with that, we stripped out a whole bunch of high textures and assets and things like that, and also added a server to be the back end for it. And we also, as I said, implemented features that are not in the console game, like interacting with your horses, racing baby horses or foals, and equipping them with saddles and all that sorts of stuff. And then, of course, after being at PickPop for about 3 years, I got a job opportunity up here back in Auckland to work for the place that I now call home, and that is Mytona. So since joining this amazing studio, I've had the privilege to work on 2 titles. That my current one is an unannounced project, so unfortunately I can't speak too much on that today. But my very first project that I joined was Mana Storm Arena of Legends. And you can think of Mana Storm as like a Brawl Stars battler type mobile game. It's instead of guns and rocket launchers and grenades, it's all about wizards, spells, and magic. Basically, you battle it out either in 3v3 or 1v1 or a free-for-all kind of battle royale sort of thing to gain currency, which then allows you to level up your spells and get stronger and stronger and stronger. And just to mention, all these games that I've worked on have all been on Unity, so it's really cool to see that you guys are going to dive into that soon, because these are the sort of things that you could be making one day with that. But you're probably sitting here and you've never really heard of Mytona, and that's totally okay. We're a relatively new company in New Zealand, but we're pretty big overseas. So who are we and what are we here to do? Well, we are a game developing and publishing company, and we're here to make the world happier through our games. That's what we strive to do every day, and we're really privileged to be able to do that in a difficult time with coronavirus and all that stuff right now. It's a real blessing to be able to kind of give back to everyone and provide that joy to the world. So, as I said, pretty big company. We were founded in 2012 in one of the coldest regions of Russia, and that's here in Yakutsk. Not even joking, it's in winter, it gets down to minus 55 degrees Celsius, so like, you die, basically, right? No, but really, it's crazy cold, real hot in summer though. We have 4 offices in Russia, 1 in Singapore, and a new one now in Auckland, and we've been here for about 2 years. But as you can see, we have people working remotely all across the globe, but we're all united by one thing, which is our love to create high-quality games. So it started in 2004 with only 2 people, and we've grown exponentially, this year clocking over 1,000 people. And it all started with 2 teenagers, Alexei and Afanasy Ushnitsky. These are our CEOs, and like many of you, they love games, right? And one day, they came across an article about game development, and they thought, well, if someone can do this, then by all means, we can too. And they just got on with it. And it wasn't as easy for them because in 2002, around that time in Yakutsk, it was hard to have internet. There wasn't a lot of information. Everything was a big pain. But they persevered, and we are here where we are today. So, around 2006, they created their first company, which was Sulu's Games. And in 2011, they learned about the mobile market and how this different way of monetizing your games. Not selling the game itself, but selling things like extra lives and things like that. And they found that quite interesting. And they wanted to dive into that, but with that, they had to create a new company to create those mobile games. And with that, the birth of Mytona started. And we later rebranded with our logo in 2019. So Mytona is a great place to work. I'm going to go into some of those reasons. But the first thing is that they understand that when you have a full-time job, you spend most of your days in the office, right? And so they try really hard to make sure that every single office then feels like home. So this is our Auckland studio here. We're based in Takapuna, right on the waterfront, 360-degree view of, on one side, the whole ocean view, and on the other side, the rest of Takapuna. So pretty amazing, great team. But all over the world, our offices have that common factor, which is when you come to work, it's not just a productive environment. It's filled with fun and inspirational people, and it's just a really great place to be and a great place to work. They really want to create this dream studio environment. So our games are played all over the world, and I consider to be some of the best representatives of their genre. For example, 2 of our most popular games and in the top 100 grossing games is Seeker's Notes and Cooking Diary. So for those of you who haven't seen, Seeker's Notes is it has a little bit of everything, but predominantly it's a hidden object game where you need to go from location to location, finding all the objects within that place within a time limit. On top of that, you have a whole bunch of mini games that you can embark on, so 3v3 and puzzle adventures that help you get more lives and so on. And then, of course, it's gone great. It's broken a lot of records within the company, and we are in the US. This game is top 3 in iPad, top 51 on the iPhone, and on Google Play we're in the top 100. And then up next is Cooking Diary, one of my personal favorites. Cooking Diary puts you in the shoes of a professional chef, if you will. And you're going in a busy capital where there's a lot of stuff going on, and you're in charge of cooking, preparing, and serving the customer's orders. It's kind of like an overcooked sort of thing where you're balancing like 3, 4, 5 things at the same time and trying to keep everyone happy. The great thing is that as you progress, not only do you unlock more upgrades for your restaurant and your kitchen and new recipes, but you actually, once you finish a restaurant, you move on to a completely different one. So today you could be making pizzas, and tomorrow you're a master cake maker. And as you cook your way to success, you're able to customize your restaurant to make it feel more like you. So this game has been real popular and has gotten lots of awards, one of them being the 15th IMGA People's Choice Award. And with our popularity and our awards, it's actually opened up a lot of doors for us to, for example, one of the latest things we've done is we've collabed with Netflix Stranger Things to create a limited time event where you can play as the characters and have a restaurant all based around the Stranger Things universe. But just because we specialize in mobile games doesn't mean we don't like to diversify. One of our latest adventures is The Day Before, which we have teamed up with fantastic developer to publish this game. And I could speak about how awesome it is, but I think I'll just play you the trailer and so you can enjoy.
Welcome to the short gameplay demonstration trailer for The Day Before, Welcome to the short gameplay demonstration trailer for The Day Before, an upcoming open-world multiplayer survival game. The Day Before features a huge, stunningly detailed post-apocalyptic world destroyed by a terrible virus.
I'm running out of fuel. Great, man. Awesome. We'll look around here, I guess. Shall we split up? Yep. I'll find out what's in the skyscraper. Okay, and I'll look around here. Let's see what we have here. Alright. I have found a great cowboy hat. Tell her everything's alright. And there aren't any more guns in the valley. Easy, cowboy.
Listen up. This is Woodbury Survivor Colony speaking. If you can hear this message, it means that we have opened our doors for new survivors. We can give you food and shelter and ensure your safety. Here are the coordinates.
Did you hear that? Yep, I got a message too. Great. Maybe I can sell my junk there and get myself a better rifle. Let's find some fuel and go.
In the Survivor Colony, you can sell and buy any items, as well as cooperate with other players.
Day of Christmas, my true love gave to me sweet French hands, two turtle doves, and a partridge.
In The Day Before, you can enter abandoned buildings and take whatever you want.
Four corned birds,
The main thing is to be careful, because not all players are friendly.
Let's pick up some supplies and get out of here. Let's check it out.
Oh shit. Got company. Could use some help now.
The things are about to get heated.
Over here. You bastard!
Dude, there's too many of them. I gotta go upstairs.
Okay, I'm running toward you.
The snowstorm is starting right now, and the temperature is falling fast. Remember that when you shoot and make unnecessary noise, it can attract unwanted guests even more terrifying than other players. The world of The Day Before is teeming with hungry hordes of bloodthirsty infected, ready to tear you to pieces.
That was close. You should have seen this shit.
It seems he dodged a bullet. Now he's crafting a bandage so he doesn't die from bleeding.
Hey, are you upstairs already? Shit. Where are you?
The Day Before, coming soon.
Okay. But it's not just great games and amazing working conditions that make Mytona the dream place to work at. There's a whole bunch of stuff that I could spend all day talking to you about. But one of the main things is, for example, our yearly conference, where they fly all the employees all around the world for a conference and a week-long event where there's a whole bunch of professional development opportunities, a lot of fun, and a chance to meet a whole bunch of talented people. So unfortunately, we couldn't go last year for the 2020 conference due to COVID. But the 2019 one was a blast. It was really a chance to experience new culture, learn a lot about who we are and what we do, and just learn from each other as well as from others around us. But it's not just our conference. We often go to many exterior conferences as well, all around the world. We go to DEF CON and all game jams and PAX and all these sort of games to both share the experiences that we're gathering as well as to absorb from others. Because at Mytona, education is super important, right? We always want to continue getting better and growing. And because of that, Mytona actually sponsors courses for all its employees so that you can consistently keep getting better and better at what you're doing, or even learn something completely new and expand your skills and be have a broader understanding of what you're doing. But again, there's heaps of bonuses. Sports refunds. If you're going to the gym or playing some sports, they will reimburse you. They care about career growth, so therefore we give you free courses. They even pay for your gaming chair at home. We have a monthly event to go to the cinema. Decent wages and bonuses. Internal courses. If you buy a treadmill at home, they will help you reimburse it. Official merch, which I've actually brought with me today, so I can give you guys some stuff as well to go home with. Medical insurance, and of course, conferences. So if you're interested in joining our team, perhaps not yet, I don't know when you guys feel ready, But when you are, just send us your CV at job@mytoner.com, and after a test and a couple of interviews, who knows, you might be the next member of our team. Yeah, what's up, bro?
Do they offer internships?
We get in contact with us, and we might do. Right now, we haven't had an internship yet, but it's something that we could possibly be looking into. So please feel free to send it through and send your interest, and yeah, we'll look into that.
Thank you.
No worries, man. Just by the way, feel free to guys ask any questions for the thing. All right, I'm not very formal here. You know, we're all friends, we're all chill. But it's actually, this is kind of the reason why I'm here today. Is I hope that by having a wee bit of a chat with you and taking a look at some of the things I've learned from my last 5 to 6 years, I'm able to equip you to land the job of your dreams, regardless of where that is or what that is, right? But fair enough. Enough about me. Enough about us. The most important thing here is, who are you? Right? Well, I believe that if you're here today, you're interested in gaming or game development in some way or shape. For example, maybe you're currently studying game dev. Maybe you're wondering, should I study game dev? It's something that I'd like to get into. Or maybe you're just an outright gamer who heard that you can get paid to make games. So you're like, yeah, that sounds awesome. Let's do that, right? On top of that, you're maybe wondering, what is even a game developer? Is that even a real job? Like, how does someone even get into that? Perhaps you want to know, okay, well, what's the best things you can do to get into the industry? And because of that, maybe you're wondering, well, what are things that are important to your future employer? Or maybe you just want to know, well, once you get the job, how can you excel it? And hopefully, one or many of these are you. And if not, no worries, we're going to have fun anyway. We're going to go through some cool content, and yeah, we'll see you on the other side. So, story time. You may have had a look at the run-through of my life, which I showed at the start, and the projects that I've worked on, and I'm most probably sitting here thinking, wait, hold on just 1 minute. That seems way too easy, right? Like, nobody becomes a level 26 game developer by simply playing RuneScape like 8 hours a day. And to you, I would say that's very, very true, actually. You're totally right. While what I showed in the playthrough was true, there were plenty of giant boulders I had to dodge, and booby traps I had to avoid, and bosses I had to overcome to even come close to standing in front of you here today. But these are the things that I actually want to share with you. The lessons I've learned, the information I've gathered, and the magical keys to success that I've picked up along the way to help you save some of those spare lives, right? And kickstart your way into achieving your dream, just like I did. So let's go forward by first going back. Back before the fancy studios and the cool games, back before university even, a place where there were no worries or stresses, back to being 13 years old, right? What you saw there before was right. I did love games, and they were a central part of my upbringing. But interestingly, for some reason, growing up, I always saw game development as one of those careers that were nearly impossible to achieve. I don't know if anyone can relate with me. I thought, I might as well become an astronaut. Like, it would probably be easier than becoming a game developer. And I had this idea that it was like, there's no way I'm aiming for something too narrow, and I'm never going to get a job if I do that, right? So, even though it was a thought in the back of my head, I never really dared to action it. And, well, as you know what happened next. One day I reached a point in my life where I was asked what I wanted to do when I grew up. And I'm sure you all know there's nothing more painful for a teenager than the day that you realize that you just can't play games all your life. It's like hearing the word Santa isn't real, or I only play Teemo in League of Legends. It just hurts, right? So this is a hard enough question for any 13-year-old, let alone one with Latino parents. Anyone in the room have Latino parents? No? Okay, well let me help you understand what I mean, right? For any one of you, your career paths could be any of these, right? Now, when you have Latino parents, however, it's a little bit more restricted. Here are the options that Latino parents want to hear. You can be a dentist. You can be an accountant. Heck, you can even own your own Latino food truck. But just don't be a game developer. Like, if you tell them you want to be a game developer, what they really hear is, I plan to live in your basement for the next 30 years, right? And so, because I had this preconceived idea in my head, I never really pursued what I really wanted to do. So fast forward a few years later, and I was sitting in chairs just like you are today at university, and taking a computer science degree. And once I graduated, I thought, well, I'm just going to work in something general. I'm not going to specify. I'll just be an IT developer doing whatever I'm asked to do in whatever company. But something really interesting happened, and I don't know if this was a strike of luck or a blessing from above, but once I graduated, I looked around, and I couldn't really find any jobs that really looked that interesting. They seemed a little bit dull, or places where I wasn't really going to grow in or be passionate about. And I didn't like that. I wanted to strive for something better. And and this went on for a few days, right? A few weeks even. And I said, well, okay, hold on a second. If it's going to be this tricky to find a job being generic, why don't I just try specifying something that I'm really passionate about and then see how that goes? Well, there was only one thing I had to do first, and I still remember this day like it was yesterday. I woke up that morning, I had to slap myself into action, I had to work up the courage to tell my parents that I was going to be a game developer. Now, you guys got to know, I'm not a big risk taker, right? Like, my idea of taking risks is closing my eyes after I turn off my alarm before work every morning, right? So, like, this is already dangerous territory we're going into. But I remember my parents coming home, and I was like, I marched up to my dad and I said, Dad, I'm going to be a game developer. Now, folks, I can't make this up, right? The words that came out of my dad's mouth that day changed my life forever. My dad said, okay. Wait, what? I can't make this up. He said, okay. And I was like, excuse me? Who are you? What have you done with my dad? And now get this. I can't make this up. Guys, he was like, check this out. He was like, what? It makes sense. You love games. You're going to be great at that. And I'm like, literally for 2 minutes with my jaw on the ground, like, who is this person, right? And you know what I realized? That with 2 minutes, my dream suddenly seemed to go from fiction to reality. And then I realized that the whole time, the only barrier between me and my dream was me. I was the one saying that it was too hard, that it was too narrow. I was the one saying that it couldn't be done. I was the one creating these fictional obstacles in front of me. So the next day, I changed that. And I said, I woke up, I stood proud, and I said, I'm a game developer today. Well, what does that mean, right? And honestly, to be honest with you all, I had no clue what that meant at all. I had so many questions. What do game developers do? What tools do they use? What does a day in the life look like? And there's these questions that I want to help you answer today. Hopefully through this talk, we're going to go through some experiences, some guidance, and I can help you tackle any obstacles you might face, whether that's going to game dev or another career, because I'm going to be a little bit generic, but in some things I will specify. Because if I'm honest, sometimes all you need to hear is okay, right? Sometimes all you need to do is convince yourself that you can do it. And so I wanted to start this talk by telling you, okay, if you have the desire to do it, you can and will become a game developer. So, let's start off. Where do we start? And what direction do we take? There's so many things to learn in the game development industry, right? Sometimes looking at the big picture can be quite overwhelming. Like, where do I start? And if you're anything like me, some of the questions going around in your head are, for example, what do I even start learning, right? What will benefit me in my career the most? Which things do I focus on? Or perhaps, what's important to my employee? And these are all valid questions, and we're going to dive right into those very soon. But there is some good news. It's that today, where you are, you're already in the right place and doing the right thing. You're at university pursuing your degree. Now, degrees are a funny thing, right? Depending on your career path, your degree can vary between crucial or it's a nice to have. But regardless of that, the degree is important because you're not only showing your employer that you have some base knowledge on your field, but also it shows that, first of all, that you can commit to something for a long term, right? You didn't give up halfway or not try at all. You stuck out for your whole degree, and that's important. The second thing it shows them is that you're deadline driven and that you know how to manage your time. And of course, it shows that you're responsible, right? Because we all know university is not perfect. It's going to take a little bit more than just showing up to every lecture and then acing the test. You have to go out of your own way and take responsibility for your own learning to really get those results. So it's these three things that your employer will look at when they see when you see that you've got a degree. So you're doing great already. However, the truth is there are a couple things that we also need to keep in mind, even though that it's great that we're at uni. And that the first thing is that uni never quite prepares you for the workplace. That what I'm saying is they teach you a lot of base level knowledge, but not often a lot of practical day-to-day knowledge. And that's not to say that what you're learning is not important or that it's useless, but rather that it needs to be supplemented to really reap its benefits. And the second thing is that there are thousands of students just like you graduating each year, right? And that means that demand is low and there's the demand is low, but the supply is high. And unfortunately, that means that employers will have the pick of the crop when it comes to picking an employee. So showing up to your first job interview with simply your degree under your belt, just like the other 100 people who graduated in your year, might not yield the results that you were hoping for. That sucks, right? So then, out of everyone, how do we make sure that the claw comes down and picks us, right? Because we all look the same, kind of, right? So to do that, we're going to need to establish a plan that ensures that we can stand out from our peers. But I've been where you're sitting at today, and when someone says stand out, it's easy to get the wrong idea about what that means. And what I'm here today is to tell you that to stand out, you don't need to be the smartest person in the room. You don't need to know the answer to every question. You don't need to have an IQ of over 9,000. You never need to be wrong. But you do have to stop playing Teemo, because seriously, it's toxic. I don't like it, right? No, but really, all you need to do to get an edge is two things. That's right, two things. Collect experience and level up, and you need to become all in. That's it. You do these two things, and I can assure you that you will stand out like never before. You do these two things, and I can assure you that regardless of your career path, you're going to make your employer, as they say, weak at the knees. That's right. So let's start from the top then. Collecting experience and leveling up. What does that mean? Well, we do that in almost every game that we play, right? We do something repeatedly, and each time we gain some experience. It makes us stronger, better, faster, right? So that means if we're going to want to become game developers, we're going to have to start making games as soon as possible. That's right. There's no better way to become a great game developer than going out of your way to make your own games today. And to do that, well, you're going to have to pick yourself up a game engine, which fits perfectly with today's launch day. So now, I know most of you in this room, perhaps some of you are starting to get dipping your feet into Unity, what's it all about. Some of you might have some experience. So because might be a variety, I'm just going to cover it briefly, and then we'll see how we go. But when I started with game engines, I had heaps of questions, right? Like, what even is a game engine? Do I need one? What do they do? Which one should I use? And should I just make my own game engine? And so, well, let's start from the top. What is a game engine? Well, game engines are great. They're able to take the weight off developing your low-level systems to let you focus on the game idea itself. What? What does that even mean? Okay, let me say it this way. It provides tools and general functionality that is common to many games. That means you spend less time redesigning the wheel every single time, and you spend more time to things specific to your game. Now, what sort of tools can it provide? Well, it depends on the engine, but heaps of stuff. Physics, right? Rendering, sound, animation, networking, AI. But this is a very theoretical way to describe what it is. Let's take a look at a more practical example. I mean, after all, we are game developers, right? We like to see things in front of us. So let's say that you've been given the title of Chief Construction Engineer in your town, and you are tasked with the construction of a sturdy house for each family in the neighborhood. And while you yourself love building and you want to give back to your community, you acknowledge that there's going to be a bit of a time constraint here, right? And you want to be as efficient as possible. So what do? Well, you could go out and find the nearest iron rock and mine it, and then get the ore and smelt it, and then hammer it into the shape that you need to create a hammer, and do the same thing for a screwdriver and every single nail, right? Then you could go and find a nearby tree and cut it down, and then shape it and get the wood and stockpile all the resources you need so that you can begin building your first house. But that doesn't sound very efficient, right? Not very time efficient or energy efficient, right? It would take months just to create all the tools you need before you even start building your first house. Or, right, what we do normally nowadays is we take a trip down to the nearest Bunnings warehouse, right? And we purchase all the materials we need, all the tools, and you can start your project today, right? So I guess what I'm trying to say is, a game engine is kind of like Bunnings warehouse, except without the great sausage sizzle outside, right? That doesn't come included with it. So instead of having to create everything from scratch, it can provide you with all the tools that you need so that you can work on your future games, your current and future games, immediately, and spend much less time creating your tools and more on the game itself. But David, there are lots of gaming companies that don't use a third-party engine. Should I just make my own engine? And that's true, my rather observant friend. That is very true. A lot of big game companies indeed do not have use third-party engines, right? In fact, Mytona does as well. We use Unity, we use Unreal, and we also have our own in-house engine. But this makes sense though, because think about it. Third-party engines like Unity or Unreal, they're trying to cater to a wide audience, right? Because they want to be able to give tools to people, all sorts of different type of developers for all different types of genres of games, right? So they have to be generic, right? They can't specify. But what if you wanted a rounded door, but Bunnings only stocked rectangle doors? And at that point in time, it's probably better for you to go and make your own door. And that's why AAA companies often tend to work on their own engines. But they also usually have the budget and the manpower to do so. So, should you build your own game engine? Sure. I mean, it's a bit low level. It could be a bit tricky. But of course you can. As long as you know that you won't really be making games, you'll be making a collection of tools to help you build your games and your future games in the future. So then, okay, well, what's the best game engine for you? And that's an important question, right? Like, it takes time to learn a game engine. There's a lot of functionality, a lot of tools, and things to dive into. So we might as well make an informed decision. Well, the reality is it's a bit of a personal decision for you, right? There are some things to take, but there are some things you can take into consideration. For example, functionality. What tools does it come with? If you're making a 2D game, does this engine that you're picking have the best rendering for 2D, right? Maybe you want to have a look at performance, right? Game engines add a bit of an overhead to any game, right? So if you're making a tiny little game, using the biggest, baddest engine out is probably not going to be worth it, and it's going to be a lot of overhead on your project. What platforms does it support? You know, are you trying to release on Xbox or just mobile phones? Is it updated frequently? And how much does it cost? These are all things that you might want to take into consideration. But Unity is a really great one to start with because it provides a large spectrum for you to work with, right? You can make very simple games. You can make quite complex games. So if you're not sure, I really recommend Unity. But it's important for you to consider even what role you're doing. If you're not a developer, there are some engines that perhaps cater to your needs a bit more. For example, in Unreal, if you're not a coder, you can use the blueprint system to create some basic functionality, right? But also, have a look at what studios you potentially want to work at and find out what game engines they work with and start getting familiar with those. Okay, great. I should go and learn a game engine. But how? Well, great question, everyone. I'm glad you asked. And luckily for you, it is 2021, right? We're in the age of information. There's literally nothing you can't find out with a quick Google search. If you can go on Google and find out how to make a disc fan out of carrots, you can find out how to be a game developer. So if you're anything like me when I was back where you were, you don't even know what you don't know, So I remember downloading Unity for the first time and only thinking I was going to make the next Call of Duty. I was like, yeah, I'm so pumped, let's go, it's going to be awesome. I opened up the engine, I'm like, wait, what? How do I move the square? It's real simple stuff. And because engines are massive tools, and so if you dive really quickly in without much guidance, you might find that you get a little bit lost. So to avoid that, I really recommend picking yourself up a book or a YouTube video, or even coming to workshops like this, where you can be guided step by step and very quickly learn the do's and the don'ts and the way to do things. And then as you learn more, you can make slightly more complex games, which require more knowledge and so on. And if you're following along with a tutorial, I really recommend, while you're doing it, write down the things that you would like this game to have, right? And once you finish, build upon that, try adding those features in for yourself. Make the game your own, get creative, and put your own twist on it. Because remember, game development is an art, right? We're supposed to be here having fun. So what are you putting into it that's different? But I do have to mention, just before we move on, there's a balance between finished and overdoing, right? What I mean is, yes, it's important to get your projects done because you're building your portfolio, and that's something cool that you're going to be able to show your employer. But guys, this is really important, right? Sometimes you just have to know when it's best to start over, right? And start something new. Why do I say that? Well, you guys are still young, you guys are learning heaps of stuff real quickly. And sometimes it's better to just start over with your new knowledge than to build on bad foundations and make this bloated project that is just, as I said, it's got bad foundations. So find the right balance between you want to complete something, but yeah, don't spend ages on it. Work on something new. Once you feel like, okay, I'm a better developer today, okay, let's start something new. So build a portfolio, but find the right balance between quantity and quality. So which coding language should I use? And again, very popular question, but quite simply, well, first make sure it's a language that's supported by your game engine of choice, right? But also I would say, coding language doesn't matter too much, because as you move from company to company or even project to project, you're going to find that you're going to have to learn a different language anyway. And it won't be too hard. I mean, it's a little bit of an overhead, but once you know how to do, for example, an if statement, you know that you want to do an if statement no matter which language that it's in. So it's just a little bit of an overhead there. And so I believe the question is less about what language should I know and more about how you use the languages that you know. In other words, can you design or can you architect? So let me go back to my previous metaphor just to illustrate. So you know how to hammer a nail into a piece of wood to attach it to another piece of wood, right? And that's great. But while you're building it, do you know what you're actually building and how it's going to fit with other pieces that you're going to have to build later on? Do you know what the end goal is meant to be, and if that goal is the most ideal for the overall system? You know, as a developer, it's important that you understand, take pride in being tidy and understanding that you've got to be structured when you write code. You're not just a code monkey. You're not just rolling your head on the keyboard. You're actually designing a system that it will itself have to interact with other systems. So when you go and create this piece of the puzzle, you not only have to make this piece work great, but you also got to think it's going to fit into this piece great as well, right? So it's these things to keep in mind. And how do you do that? Well, keep these 2 points. First of all is reusability. So let's say you're writing an inbox system, right? Does your inbox system only work for your particular game, or can you use it for any game that you're going to make, right? Think about how if you can reuse these systems, it's going to force you to think abstractly and go, okay, I need to abstract this out, make sure that it's not tied to my game. And the other thing is extendability, right? So if you want to add extra functionality to your system, can you do it easily without having to scratch everything and start again? You want to build systems that you can build upon very easily. And if you do this, if you're reusable and extendable when you design your code, you're going to make your life so much easier, and you're going to learn a whole lot. Okay, sure, but how? And one great question once again. Well, the reality is, as programmers, as game developers, we don't just make games, we make tools to make games, right? So one of the things you're going to find when you join a studio is you won't necessarily be on gameplay, although you might, and it's really cool. You might also be making tools to help other disciplines, for example, artists and designers and sound artists to do their jobs in an efficient manner. For example, you might be creating a tool that helps all the designers import their balancing into the game from a spreadsheet or something like that. So while you're out creating your own games for your own portfolio, be conscious of the tools that you're creating and don't just hack a solution in. Actually try to challenge yourself and think about, okay, my game needs an inventory system. Can I make an inventory system that can work for every game I'm going to make from today onwards? And when you create your portfolio and when you start writing up these things, document your system, because future employers are going to love that. They're going to love that you're thinking this way. So that covers the main, a lot of the things that we can start, the tools that we can start having a look at and getting familiar with while we're still studying. But what are other qualities and skills that we can develop during this time, right? Well, let me hit you with another metaphor. And as you can see, I like my metaphors. Please don't judge me. They're my love language, okay? So just go with me. Let's say you're buying a car, right? And there are many things you consider before buying a car, right? Like most importantly, you want to know the essentials, like does it have an engine, right? Does it got seat belts? And you're probably going to need a steering wheel. I mean, those things you can't argue about, right? If it doesn't have those things, you won't buy the car. It's as simple as that. But those are not the only things you consider. So you also want to know perhaps the other less essential things, like is it fuel efficient? Or maybe you want to know if you can plug your aux cord in. And what's interesting is think about how these extra things, they don't make a difference to how the car drives, which is actually the whole point of the car. But yet they're still important to a buyer when deciding between one car and another. To the point that a buyer might buy a particular car which drives the same as another one simply because it's got more legroom or it smells nicer. So in that case, let's put ourselves in the shoes of our future employers and compare two different potential employees. So we got Jack and Jimmy here. They both have degrees and they know how to code and they did really well in their college years. Despite their similarities, Jack has worked on game jams. He has experience working as a team because he's been involved with in indie games, and because of that, he's deadline driven and he knows a little bit about all that stuff. Jimmy, on the other hand, he smells nice, and he knows what a bandicoot is, and always falls in league, right? Who do you hire, Jack or Jimmy? You 100% hire Jimmy, right? I mean, he falls in league. He puts the legend in League of Legends. No, but seriously, am I making sense? You want to be able to sweeten the pot as much as you can for your future employer. So the more skills and experience you have, the better. And even if they seem small or unrelated to game development, never feel like if it's not directly related, it's not going to benefit you. There's a lot of things that actually will seem like assets to your future employer when they're looking at two profiles like this. And then you might be thinking, okay, sure, David, but how? And seriously, by now you should know I'm getting to that. So relax. Well, to be completely honest with you, it all comes down to your attitude, right? The only person responsible for your growth is yourself. And so you need to ask yourself, okay, what opportunities are you not taking today that will challenge you and grow you tomorrow? You see, you are in charge of putting yourself in a situation that's going to better you. No one else. When you spot something that you could be better at, dive into it. You get nervous doing public speaking, go do a talk at the Game Developers Guild, right? You are very good at Teemo, go play more Teemo. Wait, no, don't go play more Teemo, please. But sadly, nowadays we're being taught just to stick a label on ourselves and move on. And think about it, even in the school scenario, it's happening all around us. There's so many times where kids are going to school, right? They're going into their math classes, they're not really paying attention, they're not really doing their homework and not putting in the effort in. And time goes by, and you start doing bad in tests, and these kids, they're not doing so well in class anymore because they've missed essential stepping stones in their learning. And after a while of this, right, of not doing good in exams and in classes, they begin to label themselves and they say, well, I'm not good at maths anymore, right? And then they grow up all their lives telling themselves that maths is not their thing. But this is wrong, because suddenly this false label that you put on yourself, or they put on themselves, or the world has put on them, they don't even begin to attempt to do things like become a doctor, or a lawyer, or an engineer, or accountant, or anything math related because of this one thing that they told themselves when they were younger. But guys, today I want to challenge you. I don't want you to be like that. I think that's a limitation for yourself. You need to overcome and dive into your weaknesses today, as soon as possible. So you're not good at maths? Okay, well, how many times are you going home and practicing your maths, right? You're not good at communicating? Okay, how often are you going and talking to a random person, right? The saying success comes from failure is true, ladies and gentlemen. And the thing is, by putting a label on yourself that says, I'm not good at this, what you're really saying is, I'm not willing to fail at this. And that is unacceptable, right? You're responsible for your own growth, and you're responsible for putting yourself in these situations and scenarios where you're going to be uncomfortable. Why? Because it's through these situations that you're going to grow and develop yourselves. Ultimately, you're going to fail your way to success. So don't be afraid of failing, right? That's a very key thing. You're not going to get it right on the first time. It's not going to be perfect on the first go. It's going to take you money and attention, but don't be afraid of failing. Love failing. Fall in love with failing, because that's how you're going to reach success, right? So what are you doing today to make yourself a better person than you were yesterday? And so with that thought, it leads us to the second point that I mentioned that we need to do to stand out. And that is the question, that we need to answer the question, are you all in? And you're going, okay, David, all in what? What do you mean? Well, in three things. Are you involved? Are you an investment? And are you intentional? So, these aren't just keys to game development. These are keys to your professional career. And if you're not taking notes today, this is what I want you to go home with. This is the important stuff. This is the stuff that you should leave here today holding on to. So, let's look at the first one. Being involved. What does that mean? With what? And who can you be involved with? Especially right now, you're still studying at uni, right? Well, simply everything and everyone that you can. As I said earlier, when you're fresh out of uni, employers don't really have a lot to go on, right? So any little thing counts. So by making a hiring decision, if you happen to have a connection with someone in the studio, for example, that can really work for you, and if they can vouch for you, your chances of getting a job there increase exponentially. But it actually goes beyond people who work at the studio that you want to work on. You never know who's going to be able to vouch for you and spread the word about you and talk well about you. And so your aim is ultimately to be well known within the community of game developers, with all the people in this room. So when you do that, doors are going to start opening before you, right? You're going to hear about opportunities, and it's going to be like a snowball effect, right? So it might take a little bit, it might be a bit awkward, but as you get to know more people, that's going to snowball, and it's going to get easier and easier and faster. So refining your craft is great, and it's important, it's essential, but it's equally important to create, develop, and maintain these relationships with other people in the industry. And as we were talking about earlier, before I jumped on, you can do that in heaps of ways. I mean, first of all, you're starting in the right place. You're at the Game Developers Guild. This is the best place to start off, right? There's people in this room who are already in or interested in the industry. So get to know someone, get to know each other. Become one, become a unit. And as we also mentioned, there's also events like the Auckland Game Dev meetups once a month. Where people, both hobbyists and professionals, go, as well as the New Zealand Game Developers Conference, which is once a year. Again, great opportunity. Take the 3 days off and go and learn stuff. Meet future employers, companies, see what people are interested in, what they're after, how they're thinking. Take part in the community and begin making connections here and there, and even if it takes some time to get started. And now I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, okay, all right, David, how the heck am I supposed to finish my degree, become a great game developer, get to Diamond in League of Legends, and also maintain meaningful relationships with every single person I meet? Well, quite simply, you can't. I gotta be blunt, you're not gonna be able to. You can't invest into all your relationships at that degree, even if your life depended on it. But especially not when you sleep for a third of your day, you have to go to uni, you have other responsibilities to tend to, so you can't. You simply can't. And so I guess the question is less about how many people you're having great connections with, and more about who you're focusing your attention on and at what degree, right? So a good rule of thumb is give 80% of your energy and time to your top 20% of people, and the other 20% to the other 80. That way you're not burning yourself out, but you're still keeping strong connections with those people who you believe are the most important in your journey and in your career. And that's something that you need to consistently be evaluating as you move forward through seasons in your life. The other reason why I say it's important to be involved is because teamwork makes, teamwork makes the dream work, right? What do I mean? Well, employers love to see that you've worked in a team in some fashion, in some way, even if that's not a professional level. And that's because being in a team shows that to your employer that you're responsible, right? You can be given a task and be expected to finish it. It shows your employer that you can work with other people, that you know how to interact with others. It shows that you know how to handle deadlines as well, right? Very similar to like why we come to uni. It also shows that you know how to calculate your time and your costs and manage that within a project. Shows that you're respectful, right? That you treat others with respect and you care about others. But most importantly, it shows them that you're willing to step out. It shows them that you made a decision to say, no, I'm not just going to sit at home and wait to be placed into a job. I'm actually going to do something beyond that, right? I'm going to choose to better myself each day and try something new. And all these things, they just add more and more value to who you are as a persona. So with that, make sure you go and collaborate in a team environment of some sort. These Kiwi Jam things, they are such a great opportunity both to learn, but to meet people, to get involved in the industry. It's a win-win-win for you. So get involved, meet people, make connections, and have fun doing it. That's what game development is about, right? Be part of the community. The second point, very important, is are you an investment? Because I have to be blunt here, but I hear a lot of times, David, I can't get a job because I don't have experience, but no one's going to give me a job. I can't get experience because nobody will give me a job in the first place. So it's like, what do I do? And the reality is, I heard this before, I believed this myself before, but I've learned differently. Now, I want to start letting you know that while this is very common perception, it rarely applies. And because the truth is, the companies aren't really dumb. They know that when they're going to hire a junior or a graduate, developer, that you're not going to have much experience or wisdom or knowledge or maybe even skills. So they're going to need to invest in you to bring you to that place and develop you both technically and professionally and personally to bring you to that place where you are an asset. So basically, what I'm trying to say is, to be a good candidate for an employee, as an employee, is to simply be a good investment. But what is an investment? Well, an investment is a thing that is worth buying because it may be profitable in the future. And the key word here is future, right? An investment is never profitable immediately. You're not going to get hired and be an asset. A lot of the time, you're not going to be an asset straight off the bat. If you are, that's amazing. But no, that's not expected of you. Because when I came out of uni, I thought, oh my gosh, I need to know everything. And what if I fail? And what if I'm not good enough? And it's like, the reality is, they know. They know that you might not know things. The important thing is, are you a good investment? But what is a good investment then? Well, a good investment is one that produces a high return whilst involving as little risk for the investor as possible. That's just business 101. So what are some of the things that make a good investment? Well, are you able and willing to learn? Right? So do you have an attitude for growth and passion? Are you for learning new things and improving yourself every single day? Are you passionate about what you do? Right? Do you come in and sort of just try to get the day on, or are you actually putting love into what you're doing every day? Are you striving for excellence? Right? Do you do the best that you can with what you have, or do you do enough with what you have? It makes a big difference. Do you have a malleable character? Malleability is the ability for metal to bend without breaking. And so in the same way, are you someone who can be worked on and shaped and grown? And that's very important. As well as, are you a positive influence in your workplace, right? Are you a light when you walk into the room? When everyone's stressed, are you able to lend a hand and keep calm? Are you engaging and loving? And do you care about those people around you? The thing is, companies are aware that you're going to be a liability way before you're going to be an asset. So the real question they're asking is, how long is that going to take? And that answer is up to you, right? These are the things that universities, unfortunately, it's not going to teach you. And these things that no one can really prepare you to have. You need to make a conscious decision to walk out of this room and say, actually, I'm going to pursue excellence. I'm going to pursue passion, and so on. And my last point tonight is about being intentional, right? I can't talk really enough about how important it is to be intentional, but basically the word means doing something on purpose, deliberately stepping out to accomplish something. Guys, unfortunately, growth does not happen by accident, right? If we're going to be people who are looking to be successful in our lives, we need to be intentional with our growth. It's just the reality. And being intentional means not living a life driven by your emotions, but driven by your choices, right? So to give you an example, let's talk about, let's say, the gym, right? I mean, especially when you're in the routine of things, you never really wake up and I'm like, oh, I'm so keen to go to the gym for 6 hours today. Not really, right? It's hard work, it's tiring, you could be doing something else. You don't really want to. You know it's good for you, but you don't really feel like doing it. But if you choose to do it, then you're being intentional, right? But putting the gym example aside, this can happen with all areas of our lives, right? You see, our bodies and minds are literally created to take the path of least resistance. We don't want to work, but we need to train ourselves to start following our decisions rather than our feelings. Because the choices that you make today are going to impact the future that you have tomorrow. So, do I feel like getting up early? Not necessarily, but I made a decision that was going to be better. Do I feel like going to work and putting on a big smile after a long week? Maybe I don't feel like it this week, but guess what? I told myself that I was going to be a positive influence, and so on and so on. I mean, folks, hear me out. If for one day you started living the way you were feeling, you'd just be lying in bed all day, just eating and sleeping. We feel like doing what we're comfortable with, but then how are you going to grow? We feel like just doing enough and then calling it a day, but then how will you avoid mediocrity? The sad part is, and the reality is, you don't even have to try to be mediocre. You just have to stop swimming with against the current. Because our bodies are made to want to just rest. And if your body could have its way, it would just chill all day. So the sad reality is, if we choose to be excellent only when we feel like being excellent, well, prepare not to be excellent 9 times out of 10. At the end of the day, we are what we constantly do, and so excellence is not an action, but a habit. Okay? So, Game Developers Guild. Let me encourage you today, right? Make the conscious decision to be excellent, to pursue excellence. Take it one thing at a time if you need to, but don't conform to mediocrity. You're better than that. I believe in you, right? No one can push you to grow. Heck, even I, standing up here for an hour, can't push you to grow. Only you can make the decision to step out of this room and be intentional in areas of your life. And this is what I believe is going to help you stand out among others. These are the things that you can work on right now, starting today, that's going to help you land the job of your dreams. And once you've done that, once you've landed the job of your dreams, what are the key things to do? One, to make sure that you also excel at it. Well, let me tell you a little secret. It's exactly the same thing that we've been talking about this whole time. It's the same thing that you were doing the day when you went to the interview. Well, what are you talking about? It's something I like to call being the light. So how do you shine each day, right? Well, you know when you went to the interview and you were like a nice, bright, shining bundle of joy and you were so passionate and eager to get started, right? And that was all good. But you'll find a lot of people, as the days go on, they kind of come back down and, work sucks, and they start losing that passion and that genuine, motivation, right? They call it the honeymoon phase. But I challenge you today, don't just appear passionate for the interview. Be passionate for what you're doing today, right? Don't drop the level of excellence, but rather increase it every single day. Not by putting on a fake smile or by putting on a false sense of energy, because you're not going to fool anyone. But rather by taking what I'm saying today and making it your own, making it what drives you every morning, right? Because these are not only tools for finding a job, but also to shine in heaps of areas in your life. So how do we shine each day? Well, we've talked about it, but let's put it in a workplace, in the context of a workplace, right? Well, we sponge knowledge from others, right? That's tied to being involved, right? So leave yourself to these people around you. Sponge up their knowledge. Seek wisdom, right? The same way that you're here listening to me, find that wisdom from your peers, from your co-workers. Never lose your desire to grow, okay? You don't stop learning the day you get your job. You learn every single day after that. Be hungry for knowledge. Be hungry for wisdom, because they're going to be your greatest treasures going forward. Challenge yourself. You get the job of your dreams, right? And people go, who wants to work on this really hard feature? And you'll find most people are like, oh, no thanks. But I ask you, challenge yourself. Don't choose to work on the things you're good at, because then you're never going to grow and you're going to stay the same way. And that's not the goal. That's not the end goal. Be enthusiastic and encouraging, obviously. Put yourself, bring a positive vibe to work each day and be joyful. Strive for excellence. Again, avoid mediocrity. We've covered this. Excellence is going to set you apart even in the workplace, right? Excellence does not mean, by the way, being perfect. I don't want anyone to come out here and go, oh, I need to get everything right. No, it means doing the best you can with what you got. Whereas mediocrity is doing enough with what you have. But most importantly, my last point, and the most important of all, is, guys, never lose your passion. Never. Find and remember the reason why you're here in this room today, right? For me, I always wanted to give back to the game development community, because I felt a sense of joy through gaming all through my life. And I wanted to be able to give that back, right? So, Game Developers Guild, where does your passion come from, right? When things get tough and when things get, a little bit, frustrating or whatever, what keeps you anchored? What keeps you smiling? What keeps you going, right? Employers want to see that. Employers want to see that you're passionate about what you do. It's a driving force. And there will be days when it's tough. I'm not going to lie. There's going to be days when you're like, just like with any other job, where you're going to be like, man, you know what? I really just don't want to come into work today. Or this is boring. Or I'm sick of this. Or maybe your workmates are annoying you, right? But you always need to come back to, I am a game developer. I am doing what I love. I'm making games. Acknowledge your blessing every single day and use it to fuel you forward. And so everyone, I leave you with, be the light and shine today, tomorrow, and every single day after. And I promise you, you're not only going to land the job of your dreams, but you're going to excel in all aspects of it. So, thank you so much for your time today, guys. I really appreciate you all being here and taking your Wednesday evening. I'm happy to answer any questions, or we can even look at some trailers for some of the games I talked about earlier on, if there's no questions. And just a big thanks to the Game Developers Guild as well for having us, having me. And it's just so cool to what you guys are doing. So thank you all for your time, and we'll take some questions if there's any. What's up, man?
Do you remember off the top of your head when the next meetup was, the monthly meetup?
The Auckland Game Dev meetup? I don't know off the top of my head, but I'm sure we can find it real quickly. Quick Google search. But anyone else? No? Hi.
So just to clarify, did you start your game development journey after uni?
Yeah. So basically, I didn't think that game development was like a valid, I guess, target. And so I went to uni going, okay, I'm just going to be generic IT. And when I graduated, that's when I was like, there's not really jobs that I want to get into. And so I thought, okay, well, let me start doing game dev now. And that meant me going out of my own way and kind of learning Unity and game development stuff by myself. So that's why I said I went onto YouTube, I started looking at courses, I got some books, real cheap, real easy to find, and just followed through the tutorials. And as I was going through the tutorials, I was like, I can make this. And I was going through the tutorials and going, actually, it'd be really cool if this like Flappy Bird game had this mechanic where like also it exploded every 30 seconds or something like that. And I'm like, how do I do that? I have no idea. But as I started learning, I started adding more things to my game and building a small portfolio, which helped me get my first job. Once you get your first job, it's a lot easier to get your second job, right? So, but have fun with it, make your own games. And that's something, when you go and show your portfolio, we're not just technical people, we're game developers. There's a beautiful combination of art and technicality and passion about what we do. So show that off to your employer, and yeah.
Could I just follow up on
Yeah.
when you're at uni, did you do things like internships or like graduate programs? Because I feel like that's things that students really push for, like when they're here, and it's really like intimidating, I think.
Yeah. I didn't, if I'm honest, because again, I didn't even know that I was going to go into that field. But when I finished, I did try to go for internships. When I started, getting a bit of experience, I was like, okay, let me try and see. I'll work. In fact, when Pickpock was hiring, I thought that they were going to give me an internship. I thought, okay, and I'll move down because it's my passion. I'll do it. But no. And most of the times, most studios are happy to employ you. As I said, maybe there's a scenario where while you're still studying, some studios are happy to take you as an internship, and in fact, we can talk about that if my Tona would be willing to do that. But yeah, get in touch if you want to do something like that. But no, personally, I did not go through any internship. As I said, my first project was that Audio Game Hub title, and it was it wasn't like a salary-based compensation. We ran a Kickstarter and we were being compensated in other ways. No worries. Hey, Mark.
It's pretty cool that you work on so many different platforms.
Yeah.
Did any one of those stand out for you?
Well, stand out is a funny word because it certainly did, but not in the way that you're thinking. PlayStation 4 and developing for PlayStation 4 and Xbox can be a real pain because they have a whole bunch of rules and regulations that you got to meet. And basically, what they do is when you submit a build to Sony, they go through this checklist, make sure that you're doing all these things, and they take off points for everything that you don't get right. Basically, let's say that they give you a score out of 100. If you get less than 90, they fail you, and your submission got cancelled. And every submission costs like 20 grand, right? So it was a pain in the butt because you'd finish with all the Sony stuff, and then Microsoft came and had all these completely different rules and regulations, and things that you don't think about right off the bat. For example, you know how when you're like in the lobby, like in the main menu of like your PlayStation, it says like it shows what your friends are doing. Like you'll be playing this game in the lobby or in the main menu or in game. Like to do that, you need to tell Sony like every 5 seconds what the player is doing. So it's all these things that you wouldn't normally think about. You're like, oh yeah, actually they need to know these things. So in that sense, it's a lot of back and forth with these bigger companies because they have their criteria and you just have to meet it. There's no arguing about that.
Every update?
Probably, but not at a greater scale because once you've got those things in, it's probably you're going to keep those in. But more like you got to check that your content is still applying with their things. But in a way, it's similar for when you submit something to iOS or Google Play. They also have their regulations, right? They all have things that you need to be considering and followed by. But it is a lot easier, right? It's not as restrictive and it's not as such a demanding process. Because I remember we took like a couple of months just to submit. We had all ready and we just trying to submit. Nope, they didn't like it. Okay, no. And you're scared because 20 grand is no joke. You're submitting a game. Oh my goodness, I don't want to cost the company 20 grand. But but it was really interesting to beyond the submission stage. It was really cool to design design a game where we knew, I guess from the start we knew we were going to port it over. So we were almost making a game, 2 games at the same time. Or we were making this one game that was going to be a parallel, basically. So when there was time, when we finished the console game, we very quickly switched out the services to make it work instantly, basically. But that's only because we started off going, this is going to be a mobile game one day, so let's build it as if it could be both. And then we just stripped out the assets.
Was that pretty similar to do, or was that like a completely different teams working on it?
It was. So the biggest factors of porting it over to mobile was, first we had to do a back-end server, right? So instead of on the PlayStation, you know, you hit a button, it would check, do you have that much currency? Yes, okay, take it. Now it would be like, hey server, I need to buy this horse. Can you please check the price of this horse for me? Server goes, that horse is $1,000. Okay, server, I'd like to buy the horse, and the server is the one that goes, yes, you have enough currency, or no. That way we can't. If you hack your own game in single player on the PlayStation, nobody cares. But as soon as you bring it to mobile and you're playing multiplayer with a lot of people, now hacking is a really big problem. And so now you can't just trust that your client knows how much money it has, right? You have to go to the server and ask it, hey, how much money do I actually have? Can I actually afford this? Okay, awesome, right? And so those are the sort of things that took a while to build. So I actually, as soon as we finished the console game, I moved on to server side, and that's when I had to learn. I learned at Auckland Uni. I don't know if are you guys doing Python for comp sci? Is that what you guys start off with? Yeah. So I was the last year of Java when I was here, and then I learned C# for Unity, and then when we did servers, I had to do Python. So I've been experiencing a whole bunch of languages, and that's why I said, even though it's a bit of an overhead of learning stuff, once you know how to do like a for loop or an if statement, right? You know that that's what you want to do, and you might just have to Google, okay, how do I do this here? But yeah. I was saying, porting it over, so the back end, and also just optimizing it, because obviously you have so much RAM and storage to work with before, and then suddenly it's like, oh my gosh, we need to make this run on not even the top end devices, on even like lower end devices. And so you start creating things like, for example, on a PlayStation 4, you know the specs, right? So you just make your horse models are one model, and that's it. For a mobile phone, you can't just trust that everyone's going to have the same specs in the same device. So you have to use what we call LODs, right? And so for a kind of crappy phone, we use horse textures, which are kind of squarey, like Minecraft looking. You know, if it's a really bad phone and it can't handle it. For a high-end phone, it's like me. It's like, it looks like a PlayStation 4. Awesome. But not every phone can do that. So there's a lot of stuff that you got to be thinking about throughout it. So yeah, it took a lot of optimization, and that obviously takes time. And of course, implementing all those features. Actually, if we have time, I'd love to show you guys the trailer so that you can see the comparison, because it's quite cool to see. Is that alright, Joe? You got time or not?
So I've got time for one more question.
Oh, okay, cool. No worries. Easy as.
Yeah.
Any more questions? Hey, bro.
Oh yeah, so I remember for the Game Hub from a few years ago.
Yeah, cool.
You guys I was actually there when you launched it at the Game Dev Meetup.
Oh yeah, cool.
You were like doing like a countdown and stuff.
Yep, we did it. Yeah.
Yeah, like how did that go? And like, why did you decide to work with like a bigger game company instead of sticking with like doing things in your own team?
Yeah, cool. We were at the Game Dev Meetup, and we announced, I think it was a Kickstarter that we launched that day, right? Yeah. So the first part of the question is, it went really good. There were a lot of blind foundations that got involved and really pushed the project to its success, right? We got, I think, over 150% in the Kickstarter. But we had a few people give some money, but it was mainly the big blind foundations that really collabed and really pushed money through it. So that's what turned out to be the success of the project. Beyond that, I left because first of all, it was more of a student-based project rather than an employment opportunity, right? And so I wanted to start working at a proper studio where I was actually going to be experiencing, surrounded by people who I was going to grow from. And because at that time, Audio Game Hub we're all fresh graduates, and we were just we're not even sure if we're doing things right. We're just kind of hacking this and making it work, cool. But there wasn't a sense of, I'm learning a lot and I'm absorbing a lot. So I definitely wanted to go to a studio where I could really grow. Beyond that, I don't know. I know we had one or two developers apart from me, so I don't know how the the project did after I left. But at that stage, we had done a lot of the prototype games that we have already promised in the Kickstarter. So, because I think our Kickstarter was two things. One was for every pledge level, we had like an extra mini game that we would do. So we were doing like Simon Says or like archery or something like that. And then beyond that, there was like this big goal, which I don't think we actually reached. So yeah, when I left, we had the prototypes done. So I assume that it went well. I think that they finished off all the prototypes and we launched them, and yeah, you can get those now. But yeah, to be honest with you, I didn't follow along too closely after my departure. So, but yeah, the cool that you were there though. Yeah.
Yeah. Would you go back to like indie thing like in the future?
It's a good question. I think it depends a lot on what season of your life you're in as well. Like sometimes there's times where you want to like, oh yeah, I want to create something for my own, and I want to make something, basically. Sometimes you want to be almost self-employed, right? When you're an indie game developer, almost you can be your own boss and say, you know what, I'm going to work these amount of hours. It is hard though, right? And it depends. If you're trying to support a family, you might need a salary income. You might not be able to gamble if a game's going to succeed or not. So it really depends. Personally, right now, I'm looking a little bit more future-oriented. I'm going, okay, I need to actually grow my career, absorb as much knowledge as possible, and be in a position where I can, if I'm going to start a family, for example, I want to be, I want to have a good, stable job, right? But there's definitely times when I'm like, oh man, I really want to go and work on something on the side, right? I want to make something of my own. I see something like we were talking about earlier, like you see something from Zelda and you're like, man, it'd be cool to make a mobile game just based on this mechanic. And I do that sometimes. I go and work on stuff and I'm like, oh, that's really interesting. Probably doesn't go too far, but I do experience with it and kind of check it out. But for now, I'm real happy working at my Toronto. As you see, we have so many opportunities coming up and bigger games and a lot of innovation, a lot of learning, a lot of education going on there. So yeah, it's been definitely a real blessing to work there. So yeah, man.
Thanks for answering. That was insightful.
Awesome. Thanks, man.
Yeah, thank you so much, David.
Cheers. Thanks, guys. Thank you all. Oh, thank you so much, man. I appreciate it. Yeah. And guys, I got some stuff for you guys as well.
Yeah,
so,
definitely. So yeah, we'll pass it along right now.
Yeah, sure. So this one now. So
yeah,
like that.
I'm managing stream.
I gotta believe.